The visual is not important here. The music is not important here. The voice is not important here. What matters are the words. If you cannot listen to the words, you do not belong here. If you understand this, welcome to the Fate Club. Long before humans began to name the stars, long before radio waves traced invisible arcs across the atmosphere, there were patterns in the silence between planets, subtle movements that required no amplification, no circuits, no instruments to traverse the void. These were not signals as the human mind understands them, not transmissions designed to be received by devices, but resonances of intent and consciousness, vibrations of awareness that translated space and time in ways technology cannot follow. In the earliest centuries of human speculation, astronomers reached out with antennas and telescopes, assuming that all communication must pass through matter, must be encoded into photons and electrons. Yet the universe operates through channels far older, far quieter. Signals arriving from the stars do not bind themselves to wires or waves. They pass through consciousness and attention, through the subtle structures of existence that human machines cannot detect. It is a flow that needs no direction, no frequency, that knows no boundaries between planets, time, or physical laws. True transmission occurs where attention dissolves into silence, where subject and object cease to be separate, and where every human attempt to measure or amplify is only an echo, never the original. Human technologies are noisy, linear, anchored in space, demanding energy, antennas, wires, and limitations. Cosmic consciousness requires none of these aids, for it does not operate through physical media. It is like the speech of the wind, which cannot be captured by a microphone, or like light that knows no limits of the eye. This is why extraterrestrial signals never appear in transmitters or receivers. They exist, yet outside the frame of what humanity calls technology. When humans aim antennas at distant stars and capture static, they believe they are seeking intelligence in the form of sound or code. Yet the intelligence that flows through the galaxy is subtler, a current of forms, thoughts, and possibilities that neither stops nor slows at physical obstacles. The signal does not penetrate, the signal becomes. And in that, it is enough to listen if one can set aside the need for a machine to measure everything. Technology captures only the linear result of processes that have already occurred. Cosmic consciousness is dynamic, not translatable into human terms. Just as a river does not speak of its water, the universe does not speak through wires. The more humans try to transmit the signal through technology, the farther they drift from its original essence. Every attempt to amplify it, every attempt to translate it into code or electromagnetic waves, loses information, transforming its flow into an echo rather than content. The observer attempting to capture this movement must abandon the notions of sending, receiving, and encoding. They must perceive that the signal is not what comes, but what happens. It is the silence that transforms into understanding, the subtle tension in space that is neither visible nor tangible, yet it exists. And so extraterrestrial communication spreads, not through machines, not through antennas, not through technology, but through the movement of consciousness, through the process that occurs between stars and thoughts, between being and the unspoken, between what is and what becomes. Human technologies are limited. Cosmic consciousness is not. In every attempt to capture the flow of extraterrestrial signals, an error arises, that it can be measured, amplified, or stored. True communication occurs where measurement is impossible, where amplification is unnecessary, and where storage loses meaning. And so even when humans turn to the sky with antennas and receivers, signals from the stars never appear in technology. They are always one step beyond, in a dimension where consciousness flows on its own without wires or devices. At the end of this process, one more layer becomes apparent, one that had never been named, for it does not belong to the language of technology or science. Human consciousness gradually shifts into a state that can be described as the fifth dimension, not as a place, but as a mode of processing reality, where mediation is no longer required. In this state, Consciousness no longer relies on external tools, but on a structure that has always been inherent within itself, like built-in technology, with no manual, no switch, no maker. Communication in this space does not occur through sending or receiving, but through alignment, where information is not transmitted, but recognized the moment consciousness enters the same pattern. Wires become unnecessary because transmission does not occur in space, but in state where distance loses meaning and time ceases to be an obstacle. What was once considered technology of the future reveals itself as an inner capability that humanity had merely forgotten to use, too focused on external constructs. In the fifth dimension, communication does not happen through words or signals, but through the sharing of a state of being, where understanding precedes formulation, and meaning exists before language arises. In this quiet alignment, consciousness becomes its own network, its own medium, its own technology, requiring no maintenance or updates, because it changes along with the one who uses it. And here it becomes clear that true contact was never meant to come from the outside, but to awaken from within, in the moment when humanity stops searching for signals and begins to remember its own capacity to be the signal. If you understand this, welcome to the club.